Hey everyone, it's Sarah here. I hope the connection sustains. Um, I am excited and petrified of what I'm gonna share with you right now because there's some things that I never shared with anyone before, but I feel the more that I'm observing and the more people that I talk to, I see that there's the gap between the reality and expectations. And I feel like a lot of you might be spinning in circles thinking that you're keep digging up the same thing and keep dealing with the same thing, and all you want to do is keep moving forward, like that colleague of yours, like that role model of yours, like that um other coach, other consultant, other service provider that you have been admiring and aspire to be like, who seemingly has everything going for her or him. And it just feels like you just can't seem to go anywhere. Look, I've been there. My clients have been there. And the fact that a couple of my clients who came to me and they said, Sarah, we need you. And I was like, what can I possibly offer to you? You have everything going on for you. And when they opened up, it was the farthest from the truth. They were just as messed up as I was. And their businesses on the back end were just as messy as mine was. But the point here is that before we go into all the details behind it, I just wanted to let you know that whatever you're experiencing, you are not alone and you are not the only one who's going through it. And sometimes it feels like you're going through the same thing over and over and over again. And I can tell you that if that's the case, it's because you still have things to learn, you still have things to deal with, you still have things to go through in order to be able to get to the next step, to the next level, to the next chapter. So with my story, when I started out my business in 2011, everything seemed to be so easy. It was so exciting and my business grew. Hey, I have someone here. Hi, how are you? Um, because I had fun with it. And also there was a drive that was still in me from the years of being an athlete, of showing up, doing the work, that endurance, that perseverance, that, oh my gosh, no obstacle was too big, right? And then also I had a baby on her way and I was at the deadline that was not mine. So there were a lot of things that needed to happen. There was no option B. And after she was born, again, our business kept growing and it was really easy. I had a whole new why. I was motivated in a whole different way. And everything was falling into place. There were mistakes that I have made, of course. There were challenges that I had to overcome, of course. But it seemed so easy. And the team grew and everything was awesome, right? And I remember at the time I hired somebody to get me to the next level. And I will never forget. We were doing some mindset work and I was sitting there and I was like, what does that even mean? What does that even stand for? What am I supposed to do with this piece of information? It does not apply to me. It was just, so take this and put it on the side because there's going to be a lesson out of this. So it felt like I wasted the time and money. And I know a lot of you have been through experiences when you hire somebody hoping for those amazing results. And you feel like at the end that nothing happened, nothing changed, and there you are still going through the same circles. And I know how frustrating it could be. Again, I was there after my second daughter was born and after I overcame postpartum depression, which is something that I speak about really openly. Hey, Natalia. And I feel like it needs to be addressed. It needs to be spoken about. And it's not just postpartum depression. It's any other thing that we don't see what people are going through. You know, when you have an injury, when you're handicapped or in a wheelchair, that's visible. But what's going on on the inside without visible traces, sometimes it's really hard to talk about, to justify, to communicate. but it can affect you on so many levels. So that affected me and my ability to really show up for myself and show up for my family and show up for my clients. It affected the business, and I felt a disconnect between where I was on a personal level and where I wanted to take the business to. And even that vision wasn't really clear, because I came from a background of really technical and know-how approach, to now having to be a thought leader and being looked up to as somebody who empowers and inspires and shows ways that are different than actually does things. And it was that jump that I was not quite ready to make, and I didn't know how to make it. So, and remember investing in all sorts of strategies. I remember doing everything by the book, and the results, they were there somehow, but not quite, right? So I know how frustrating it can be when you're thinking about, well, I'm doing everything by the book, I'm spending left and right, I'm investing left and right, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I am doing this live stream, I'm posting here, and I'm responding there, I'm doing that outreach, but I'm still not seeing the results that I want to, and all there is, I'm burning out, and I'm starting to doubt in myself, I'm starting to doubt in my capabilities to really do what I know that I'm good at. You know how that feels? But on the outside, you still have to show up as if everything is great. And I was just on a call earlier today when that exact thing happened. I was talking to that person, and they were telling me how everything was going. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome. I'm so excited for you. And they said, it's not really that awesome. Like, ha, I know. I know how it is on the outside and how messy it can be on the inside. So it opened up a space for a whole different conversation, for a whole new energy. So with that being said, you know, when you are then showing up on the outside world as you have it, you know, somebody who has it all figured out, who has everything going on for them, you're creating the disconnect and distrust from the people who are looking up to you. And I'll never forget when I finally was sat down and somebody told to my face, like, you need to let it go. You need to come clean. You need to step forward, and you need to just let go and tear down that wall. Be real, be authentic. And it's like, what does that even mean? You know, how? And I remember at the time I was going through the phase when I felt called to really support other moms in businesses, because eventually I was a mom, I was an entrepreneur, so I thought it was a good fit. But what I figured out was that when I allowed others to tell me how to show up and what to do, that all of a sudden I was in that space, confined box, when the words that I was using were too big, the energy I brought was too much, the philosophies were too complex, the approach was just too much to handle, and I need to tone it down because, Sarah, remember, now you're talking to moms, and right? I was like, that doesn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I had to censor myself. I had to tone myself down. And in part, yes, it was authentic, because all of a sudden I had the permission to be at a playground, live streaming from a playground where the kids were screaming and running around, because, hey, that's what moms do, right? But on the other hand, it's like, you can talk about business models, you can talk about profitability, you can talk about the mindset, you can talk about this and you can talk about that, because what moms need to talk about is time management. I was like, what the heck? It really did not work. And it was just a phase, and it felt at the time that I had to go back to the square one and trying to figure out what is that I even stand for, what is that I even do. And it felt again frustrated, because there I was investing yet another strategy, in yet another consultant, in yet another coach, and I felt just as lost, right? But the thing was that every single time I came that full circle to that square one, trying to figure out what is that was going on, it was like a spiral going up and higher and higher and higher, because seemingly same issues that I was dealing with, we were dealing with them at the whole new level, with a whole different experience, with a whole different perspective. And my energy was completely different every single time. And every single time I was able to believe in myself more. I was able to be more of who I am and how I am and how I work and what I believe in and how I speak, how I show up. But the key here for you to, that I would like you to take away from, is that all of those things are necessary. They need to happen, because you can sit behind your desk, you can write about it all you want, you can think about it all you want, you can talk about it all you want. Unless you do it, you are not going to get that clarity. And when you are doing it alone, you're not going to get the feedback that you need in order to course correct. Because I have to tell you that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support system. Not just at home from my husband and our families and friends, but especially from those in industry, in the business, who have walked that path, who have been there, who have had the same struggles, who have gone through the same experiences. And some of them have never experienced those, and they were able to offer me a different perspective. And it goes the same, you know, when I mentioned the client of mine who said, how can I even support you? It was that I did not even realize that I had something that they wanted. And it was in a different capacity. It was the path that I did walk that they have not been on yet, and they wanted my guidance from it. So it was another piece in their puzzle. And when I started to realize that, it also started to make sense that how all of a sudden, when I was invited on different webinars and seminars and workshops and presentations, and I was sharing the stage with people that I used to look up to and admire, and I was like, oh, look at those, you know, putting them on a pedestal. And now all of a sudden, there they were standing right next to me, and I was like, do I even deserve to be here? What have I even created, and what have I even done to be here? You know, and it was that, again, the doubt and the belief that I had that I wasn't worthy of being there. And I know a lot of women entrepreneurs, as much as men entrepreneurs, when you look at your own business and when you know the mess behind the scenes, you feel the same way. Like, who am I to do that? Who am I to be able to command those prices, to present myself in that way, to really assure that, yes, I can do that for you. I can create those results. I can lead you down that path. I know how to get you there. I know how scary that can be sometimes. And thank you for the likes. But the thing is, you do know, because of all the circles that you have walked, because of all the breakdowns that you have had, because of all the mess you had to clean up, and because of all the help that you have reached out to and accepted and experienced, you have it in you. You can totally do it, but you have to give yourself permission to do it. So what it really comes down to, you know, I talked about mindset, and I talked about tactics, and I talked about strategies, and I talked about showing up and doing the work and putting in the hours and working around the clock from 7 in the morning to 3 at night. It is required. All of that you do need. All of those are pieces of being an entrepreneur. But sometimes you burn out, and sometimes you start doubting yourself, and sometimes there you are again at square one, trying to figure out what's the next thing, and that no longer serves me, no longer supports me. And I hear it every single day from entrepreneurs who are at multiple six figures. They're like, I am hitting the wall. I don't know where to go from here. I have this idea, I have this vision, I have this mission. I don't even know if I can ever achieve it. And that's the time when it's time to take a step back and really reevaluate things. And again, I wouldn't be here talking to you if I wasn't going through that myself, when it was time to take a step back and like, okay, right? What do I need to let go of? Can I really dream that big? And giving myself a permission to dream that big. And I can tell you, when you take a stand for yourself, when you step into that energy, when you assume that role, when you allow yourself to become that person, it's like riding an elevator, the glass elevator, right? When you are at the floor level. And I'm gonna use this example because it's so fitting. A couple of months ago, my husband and I took the kids to New York City for a couple of days, and we were walking the streets, and you know how it's noisy, there's a lot of people walking down the streets, there's cabs driving back and forth, and you have to watch that you're not run over by a car or somebody on a bike or a horse in a carriage. It's just noisy and smelly, and it's just the energy of New York. If you haven't been there, you either love it or hate it. I personally loved it. But it was such a great analogy, because then at the hotel we were staying, it was so much higher up that you got the clearer view. You were no longer in the hustle and bustle and the crowd. Todd, I'm reading your comment here. You are who you believe you are. Oh my gosh, every single time, and I didn't even get to that part. I'm yet to talk about it. I'm so glad you brought this up, so stick around, it's coming up. But when we were at the hotel room, 30 something floors above the ground level, the view was so much clearer. The noise all of a sudden quieted down. There was no crowds. And that's what happens when you allow yourself to get out of the trenches of your business or your life, and you disconnect from all the technicalities and all the little pieces that need to be handled and how that needs to happen, the sequence of it to happen. You all of a sudden can see a clearer picture. And again, I'm coming to you from experience of being there. Remember, I started out as a virtual assistant. Taking care of those details was my job. But I was not able to see the bigger picture, the possibilities for my business at the time, because I was so involved in all the nuances and all the technicalities. But as you evolve, as you grow as a business owner, you are going to come to a point when, like Todd said here, you are what you think you are. Because at one point you will have to make the decision. You will have to make the decision between continuing down that path, or working until 3 in the morning, figuring it all out, or allowing yourself to become the CEO of your company. And if you choose to become the CEO of your company, you will have to shift, you will have to change the way you think about yourself, the way you think about your company, the way you think about the possibilities, your big vision, the ideas that used to scare you, but now you know they're possible, that you're totally capable of creating them, you're totally capable of calling them in and receiving them and accomplishing those things and impacting those people and changing those lives and changing the culture, changing the world. I know for some it might seem scary and big, but it is possible. And again, I know it because I have been pushed beyond my own limits I was challenged to create it, to think about it in those terms. And when you do, all of a sudden, things are not on the ground level, on the very technical part, are not holding you down anymore. They're not pulling you down anymore. And yes, there are still fears that you're going to be facing at that higher level just as much as you have at the beginning level, but it's going to be from different experience, from different perspective, and you now have a different approach to solving those issues, to overcoming those obstacles, to breaking those patterns, I wish I was able to put it in words because the feelings are just so strong. Oh my gosh. I wish you could feel it here with me. But as recently I did that live stream in one of the groups that is there just to push me beyond my zone of comfort. And I was really challenged to think big and think deep and go deeper. Why am I even here? Why is it what I'm doing so important to me? And I gave an answer, and the response was like, no, that's not it. That's too small. Like, whoa, what? And it all started, like I said, when I hit that wall, when I was like, I don't know how to solve it. And I was so involved with the how that I really needed somebody to lift me up, but that somebody came when I was willing to listen. And you know how I gave you an example with a couple of years ago, I hired a coach, we were talking about the mindset and we were talking about the vision and so on, and letting go of the fear and releasing of the fear. And I was like, what is that? What did I just pay for? It did not make sense for me at the time, because there were still certain experiences that I need to go through. There were still certain disasters that I needed to walk through. There were still messes that I needed to clean in my life and my business to get myself ready, to get myself to the level where I was able to see that. And I can see it with my clients every single time, because it happens that somebody comes to me and I have this big vision for them. I know it's possible, but if I say it out loud, hey, oh, you're gonna be changing the world, they're like, oh no, I'm not ready. So I think the beauty of the work that we do, we get to do, the privilege that we have to work with clients on many different levels, is that we can hold the space for them and then guide them, give them exactly what they need. And in my case, I think I feel so privileged to be able to be there through different levels. I can be there for them on a very practical level of the execution with my team. I can be there on the bigger picture with the strategies and mapping it all out. And my team and I can be there at the highest level in terms of the mindset and belief systems and building the confidence and allowing them to really step up and show up as CEOs of their businesses, to dream big, have that big vision, and know that it's possible for them. What I'm communicating to you here is that wherever you are, you're there with a purpose, you're there with a reason. And when you look at those who seemingly keep surpassing you, know that behind the closed doors, behind the curtains of their own businesses, it's not always as beautiful, it's not always as messy. But just because you are dealing with fears, you are dealing with challenges, you are facing setbacks, it does not devalue you. You are the only one who devalues you. You are the only one who brings the energy of the doubt and who brings that fear to the table. But the thing is that when you do, that's what your people are feeding off. And I'm going to give you another example. My two little ones came into our lives for a reason, and I'm a firm believer that they taught me about managing my own energy, because they reflected back. And it took me a while to understand that why are certain days when nothing went my way, why they acted a certain way. Because they fed off the energy that I allowed myself to, that lower vibration and the fear and anxiety that I allowed myself to be overcome by. So it took a lot of work, and I'm still working on it, and I will be working on it until the day I die. But I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And when the clients come to me, there were days when I was like, what can I possibly offer you? You have it all. And they didn't. And the clients who are coming to you, people who are coming to you, turning to you for advice, for guidance, they see something in you even when you don't see it in yourself. But the key here is that you have to trust it, and you have to trust that obstacles that come to your way are there for a reason. That going in circles is there for a reason. That you're never ending up at the same spot. It might seem like it, but there's always something new. There's always a new level. There's always a new approach. There's always a new experience that you bring to the table. So don't stop. And most importantly, don't try to do it on your own. Because I have said it many times before, you can be the best neurosurgeon in the world, you cannot operate on your own brain. It's that simple. When you are so involved in the nuances, the technicalities of your business, you are unable to take a step back and see the big picture. And that's exactly when you need somebody who's going to push you, who's going to show you different options, who's going to point you into different directions, who's going to show you that it can be so much easier, and it can be so much simpler, and it can happen so much faster than what you would otherwise have to go through on your own. But in order to get there, in order to get that and receive that, you have to make a decision. And decision at the end of the day is really simple. And if there's one thing I would like you to take away from this live stream here, is this: at every single moment, in every second, every minute, every hour of every single day, you are empowered to make a decision and to make the commitment to your dream. Or you can choose to make a commitment to that obstacle, to the challenge, to that lack, to that fear. You choose. So you can choose to see going in circles as a struggle, or you can see it as a learning experience and as a spiral that's taking you, moving you forward. You can choose to continuously beat yourself up and doubt in yourself, or you can choose to reframe that and take the action and ask for support and grow and evolve and take a step back and see yourself as a CEO, as a leader, and own it. You can choose to be afraid, or you can choose to work on those fears and overcome them. It's always your choice. It's always your choice. So again, the first thing that you do is you decide. The second thing you do is to commit, then you become, and then you're going to succeed. So thank you for being here with me today, and I hope this gives you permission or kicks your ass into motion, or gives you a confirmation that the path you're at is exactly where you're supposed to be. Let me know what comes up to you. Let me know what questions you have, or let me know if you'd like to set up a time for us to dive deeper into your specific situation, your specific business, and see where you are, where you're going, and what you need. Take care until then, and I'll talk to you soon.